Bob Frost, 2017 Scottsdale History Hall of Fame honoree. Arizona is known for its 6 C's. Many know Bob Frost for excelling in at least 7 P's: parks, the preserve, planning, patriotism, poetry, painting, and participation. Combining and sharing his talents in each of these areas, he is truly Scottsdale's ultimate letterman. Growing up in Southern California, Bob loved sports and being outdoors. He worked as a recreation leader for the local park system while in high school and at Long Beach State College. In 1961, he enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps, serving in several roles, including as a chaplain's assistant. After the Marines, Bob completed his bachelor's degree in recreation administration and resumed working for the Parks District in Norwalk, California. Seeing an opportunity for promotion, he accepted a job as recreation superintendent in Scottsdale in 1971. During Bob's 25-year career with the city of Scottsdale, he was instrumental in the planning and operation of all facets of community services, from parks and recreation to arts, libraries, and social services. After retiring from his position as Community Services General Manager, he continued to serve as a volunteer member of the Parks and Recreation Commission and is currently chairman of the McDowell-Sonoran Preserve Commission. Thanks to his leadership, Scottsdale's park system has grown from only 7 in 1971 to dozens throughout the city today. He also groomed many city staff and volunteer leaders who continue to ensure Scottsdale's community services and facilities were the best for residents and visitors alike. Bob was at the forefront in developing Scottsdale's Youth Services Department, working with Lillian Shaheen and Judge Boyle. He was also instrumental in planning and opening Vista del Camino and the Civic Center Senior Center, and establishing the city's social services program at both locations in the 1970s. 10 years after the Scottsdale Center for the Arts had opened, the city asked Bob to add management of the center to his plate of responsibilities, where he drafted the Public Arts Ordinance. He, along with a citizens committee and consultants, facilitated the transition of the Arts Center from a city operation to the then new Scottsdale Cultural Council. As part of his responsibilities during the 1970s, Bob worked with the U.S. Bureau of Land Management to allow Scottsdale to develop the TPC Scottsdale Golf Course and Horseman's Park, later renamed Westworld, on its land. He worked with the San Francisco Giants, Scottsdale Charros, and others to rebuild Scottsdale's aging ballpark after voters approved a bond issue to fund the multi-use Scottsdale Stadium. Bob also brought sand volleyball to Scottsdale, worked with developers and planners on citywide bikeways, and helped develop Club SAR and the Indian School Park baseball facilities. He also coordinated a full menu of Scottsdale's preparation and activities for the first Super Bowl held in the Valley in 1996. Throughout his tenure at the city and as an active retiree, Bob has served in numerous volunteer roles. He's been involved with the Boys Club, now the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Scottsdale, for decades, and is a longtime honorary member of the Verde Vaqueros, which supports the organization. He also served on the Public Arts Selection Committee, served in several roles on the Parada del Sol, the Scottsdale General Plan Committee 2011, chaired Scottsdale's 60th Anniversary Committee, and served on Scottsdale Healthcare's Golf Committee. Inspired by a high school English teacher, Bob has been writing poetry for years and has published several books of his poems. His affiliation with the Verde Vaqueros led to his specialty of cowboy poetry. He was named Scottsdale's Poet Laureate and composes poems for many official city events. Poetry isn't his only creative outlet. He is also a talented artist. Bob and his wife Judy enjoy time with his son Dan and daughter Lori and Judy's son Mark, as well as shared grandchildren. Bob and Judy, who is also a City of Scottsdale retired executive, are both active at Troon Country Club. As a public servant and as a consummate volunteer, Bob Frost has provided the strategic leadership and sense of fun and adventure necessary to make Scottsdale a great place to live, raise a family, and enjoy life to the fullest. Whether it's hiking or biking, watching major sporting events at Scottsdale Stadium, the TPC Golf Course or Westworld, accessing social services, or enjoying a cowboy poem, Bob's professional and creative touches can be felt in every corner of Scottsdale. Christine Kovac, 2017 Scottsdale History Hall of Fame honoree. Preserve champion is a great descriptor for Christine Kovac. The term, however, just doesn't seem quite adequate to describe the countless ways this advocate and organizer has benefited Scottsdale's preservation efforts for nearly 25 years. Christine Newland grew up in Des Moines, Iowa. Hoping to escape its snowy winters, she came west to major in broadcast journalism and political science at Arizona State University. After graduating in 1982, she worked as a producer at Channel 3 and for the Phoenix edition of PM Magazine. In the late 1980s, she joined the executive team at Scottsdale-based Founders Bank, where she served in marketing and operations roles. She currently owns and manages various real estate, business holdings, and investments. Christine started her civic involvement in the early 1990s, serving as chair of the Scottsdale Chamber of Commerce Small Business Awards and Seminars Committees. Newly married to Rick Kovac, she became interested in land use and zoning issues in the East Shea neighborhood where they planned to build a home. She joined the board of the Northeast Scottsdale Property Owners Association, which led her to one of the first meetings of the McDowell-Sonoran Land Trust at Mustang Library. Listening to the new group's goals, she knew she'd found her passion and cause. By 1993, the Save Our McDowells movement had picked up momentum, and the city government was seeking citizen recommendations on how best to create and fund the envisioned McDowell-Sonoran Preserve. In 1994, Christine was elected chair of the Land Trust, was appointed to the new McDowell-Sonoran Preserve Commission, and served on the Save Our McDowells campaign committee. Her contacts in and knowledge of the local business community were invaluable in bringing all sides of the preserve issue to the table. She chaired the first Mountain Ball in spring 1995, attended by hundreds of supporters, including retired U.S. Senator Barry Goldwater. This event was one of many grassroots efforts which created awareness for the May 1995 vote to increase Scottsdale sales tax to fund land purchases for the preserve. Christine still looks back at that anti-tax period in amazement that the preserve tax and its subsequent supporting votes could pass by such healthy margins. When she joined the board of the McDowell-Sonoran Land Trust, it was an all-volunteer organization. During her 2 tenures as board chair, she helped the organization, now known as the McDowell-Sonoran Conservancy, mature into one with a business plan, paid staff, and specific responsibilities with the city of Scottsdale for operating and conducting programs in the preserve. Christine's involvement has gone far beyond organization and planning. She completed preserve steward training, helped create marketing materials, and got involved with the Passport to Access and Connection to the Environment program that funded bus transportation to the preserve for those lacking direct access. As a charter member of Conservancy Women, she also helped create interpretive displays and videos for the Browns Ranch Trailhead. One of the most significant ways Christine and her family have benefited the preserve has been the funding of ADA-accessible interpretive trails at the Preserve Gateway and Lost Dog Wash trailheads. She is particularly pleased to see how many school children enjoy the stories and experiences those trails provide. Her most current leadership role associated with the McDowell-Sonoran Preserve is serving as board chair of the nonprofit Desert Discovery Center Scottsdale. During 2016, the City of Scottsdale awarded the group a contract to come up with a definitive plan for the long-anticipated education, research, and preserve supporting facility. The Kovac children have literally grown up with the preserve. Their son Dan was born the same year as the first vote. Then, years later, did his Eagle Scout project in the preserve his mom helped create. Son Nick and daughter Allie have also spent their growing up years in and around the preserve, forging a family culture of shared outdoor adventures from water and snow skiing to scuba diving and snowboarding. Throughout her children's public school years in Scottsdale, Christine served as room mother, soccer mom, and field trip chaperone. As an accomplished advocate, communicator, organizer, and leader, Christine Kovac has elevated a local grassroots effort to a world-renowned preservation success story. She's been a hands-on leader who has tirelessly worked to expand the McDowell-Sonoran Preserve, educate residents, tourists, and students about its many wonders, and has always had Scottsdale's best interests at heart for this and future generations. Susie Smith Everhard, 2017 Scottsdale History Hall of Fame honoree. Known as a pioneer in Arizona's cable industry, Susie Smith Everhard is equally known for her dedication to community service. She's been a champion of youth and education programs and for mentoring young professionals. She's also been a great booster of local teams and events, helping to make her hometown the sports capital of the entire Southwest. Born in Illinois, Susie's family moved to Scottsdale when she was 6 months old. She attended Kaibab and Hopi Elementary Schools and Arcadia High. Throughout their growing up years, she and her sister Cynthia enjoyed Sunday meals with their parents at the Sugar Bowl, the Safari Resort, or Jean's Broiler Buffet. She loved taking part in the Parada del Sol parade and going to the Roundup drive-in. Susie often helped her father sell produce from the family farm at the old Scottsdale Farmers Market on 2nd Street. Staying close to home, she worked at the Los Arcos Mall Broadway store while earning her bachelor's degree in marketing and advertising at Arizona State in 1979. Susie began her cable career in 1981 as advertising and marketing coordinator for CableAd, the media division of American Cable Television. This new industry was full of opportunities for innovators like Susie. She designed and managed local cable's first public access program and designed training for the public in how to use this new medium. She was also instrumental in developing the Arizona Sports Programming Network, the first cable sports network in the state. At the time, the Phoenix Suns were the only major team in the area, so ASPN broadcast Phoenix Firebirds baseball and Roadrunners hockey games, as well as spring training baseball and high school sports. Based on her sports marketing and programming expertise, she was appointed to the Maricopa County Sports Commission in the 1990s. Susie joined the Cox Communications executive team in 1995. Among her many programming initiatives that have had a positive impact on Scottsdale is the use of Coxtron. These jumbo screens have enhanced the spectator experience at major events, providing local coverage and expanded event information. She also helped devise the Super Channel in 1996 that covered all local events associated with the Valley's first Super Bowl. The NFL has since adopted this concept in other bowl-hosting cities. Students and charities around the state and in Scottsdale have benefited from two of Susie's best-known community programs, Everyday Heroes and Cox Charities. She described Everyday Heroes as a back-of-the-napkin brainstorm that partnered Cox with the Arizona Interscholastic Association. The Academy Award-style event, broadcast on Cox, starred high school students and recognized students, teachers, administrators, and coaches for their success on and off the field. Susie was instrumental in launching the Cox Charities program in 1996 as a way Cox employees could designate where their United Way contributions would go. Over its 20-year history, Cox Charities has distributed over $6.5 million to organizations such as the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Scottsdale, the Scottsdale Training and Rehabilitation Services, Keep Scottsdale Beautiful, and the Cox Tech Centers at several Scottsdale area Boys and Girls Club branches. Her volunteer involvement has been regional and monumental. She has been a Boys and Girls Club of Metro Phoenix board member for 16 years, chaired its Youth of the Year Gala, and was honored with the group's Spirit of Leadership Award. Susie also served on the Arizona Business and Education Coalition, the Super Bowl 2008 Preparatory Task Force, and the Marketing Committee for the Valley of the Sun United Way. Living in Scottsdale, Susie is always eager to support her hometown organizations. She served on the board of the Scottsdale Area Chamber of Commerce for 10 years and graduated in Class 29 of Scottsdale Leadership. She and her leadership classmates promoted the opening of the Kovac Family Interpretive Trail at the Lost Dog Wash Trailhead to the McDowell Sonoran Preserve. She currently serves on the Scottsdale Leadership Board and as Alumni Engagement Co-Chair. Susie and her husband Joe love to travel, and they dote on their English golden doodle, Henley. Their house is known as the go-to place for family and friends to celebrate holidays. She is also a moonlight flower gardener. It's no wonder that her peers honored Susie Smith Everhard by inducting her into the Southwest Cable Communications Pioneer Hall of Fame. Her years of creativity and leadership have benefited not only her evolving industry, but also her state and her hometown, Scottsdale. Susie's cheerful nature, humility, dedication to collaboration, and optimism provide motivation to countless employees, volunteers, and civic leaders whenever they are fortunate to encounter her. Wendy Springborn, 2017 Scottsdale History Hall of Fame honoree. Growing up in Scottsdale, Wendy Springborn recognized at an early age what was fun, cool, and unique about her hometown. She spent her adult life leading groups that have ensured Scottsdale treasures, like the McDowell Mountains, the Parada del Sol Parade, and the city's tradition of citizen participation, thrive for the benefit of future generations. The Springborn family moved from Illinois to Scottsdale in 1969. Wendy's parents owned the Party Line store in downtown Scottsdale. Wendy attended Loloma Elementary School, which was across the street from their apartment, the same apartment complex where the Cubs' Ernie Banks and his family stayed during spring training. Wendy, her parents, and 3 siblings moved to the Arcadia area, where she attended Ingleside and helped her Campfire Girls group earn a week's vacation to Hawaii through rummage and bake sales. One of her favorite activities was marching as a baton twirler or pom-pom girl in the Parada del Sol Parade. As an Arcadia High School student, she joined the Scottsdale Police Department Youth Patrol, lettered in volleyball, softball, and basketball, and was recognized as Volleyball Player of the Year for SUSD. She attended both Mesa and Scottsdale community colleges on a volleyball scholarship, then left to become an emergency medical technician with Cord's Ambulance. She joined Arizona Medical Transport in 1981 and became certified as a paramedic in 1982. When Arizona Medical Transport, or AMT, was acquired by Rural Metro in 1988, Wendy worked both as a paramedic and ultimately became the company's marketing manager for ambulance service. Rural Metro's Assistant Fire Chief Frank Hodges encouraged her to get involved in Scottsdale community organizations, and her first board position was with Actors Lab. She also completed Scottsdale leadership with Class 5, later serving on the organization's board of directors. Wendy served as co-chair of the Scottsdale Visioning Volunteer Corps and organized the successful Vision Fest community event with her new best friend, Alyssa Brancotti. Wendy was honored to receive the Scottsdale Leadership Alumni Achievement Award with Alyssa for their visioning work, particularly since the award memorialized her mentor and friend, Frank Hodges. Through Rural Metro, Wendy got re-involved with Parada del Sol when the company provided the standby ambulance service. She quickly realized that she wanted to have more than a business relationship with this Scottsdale tradition she had enjoyed during her childhood. Wendy joined the Scottsdale JCs, was parade chair in 1992, and served on the JC's board throughout the 1990s. In 1992, she was recognized as Arizona's JC of the Year. Fast forward to the present, when the parade was recently in jeopardy of losing its stature as Scottsdale's oldest signature event, city leaders approached Wendy to lead its revival. She has chaired the Parada del Sol Historic Parade Board since 2014, helping to breathe new life into this beloved event. Wendy is pleased that Scottsdale has saved this important heritage piece of local history and culture because it reminds us of our roots as the West's most western town. Expanding her community service, Wendy joined the board of the Scottsdale Foundation for the Handicapped, now STARS, and served as its chair. She was a member of the Scottsdale Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors for 8 years and received the Chamber's Legacy Award in 2006. At Mayor Herb Drinkwater's urging, Wendy served as co-chair of the 1995 Save Our McDowell's ballot proposition campaign. She often appeared on TV and as spokesperson for the successful effort to modestly increase Scottsdale's sales tax to fund land purchases for the McDowell Sonoran Preserve. She continued to serve on several subsequent campaign committees that supported funding and expansion of the preserve. Never one to shy away from challenging issues, Wendy chaired the city's General Plan Task Force in 2013. She has also chaired the city's Board of Adjustments. Great at multitasking, Wendy juggled career demands and intense community service while completing both her bachelor's and master's degrees. She has been a top manager for the City of Tempe since 2007 and is active in the American Public Works Association and other professional organizations. Wendy is fortunate to have her family close by. They still have fun remembering their brush with stardom when they competed on television's Family Feud in 1983. She and husband Larry Herron are avid sports fans, and she likes to knit and do other craft projects. When asked what she's most proud of in her decades of community service, she says she loves to see the groups she's been a part of flourish. It's easy to see why so many groups and events in Scottsdale flourish. It's thanks to Wendy Springborn's guiding hand, caring nature, hometown perspective, and optimistic vision for the future. Marjorie Thomas, 2017 Scottsdale History Hall of Fame honoree. As Scottsdale's first resident artist, Marjorie Thomas created an historic record of Scottsdale's pioneer days that is unduplicated. She opened the settlement's first art studio in 1909, launching Scottsdale's stellar reputation as an art center and haven for artists that continues to thrive today. Marjorie Helen Holmes Thomas was born in 1885 in Newton Center, Massachusetts. She graduated from the prestigious School of the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. She had planned to continue her art studies in Boston, but family obligations intervened. Her older brother Richard had tuberculosis, so Marjorie, her mother Emma, and brother, like so many others at the time, moved to the healthy climate of the Arizona Territory in 1909. She was 24 years old. Answering an ad posted at the Phoenix train station, the Thomas family rented a cottage on Walter and Helen Smith's property on Indian School Road in the small farming town of Scottsdale. Soon after they arrived, town founder and namesake, Chaplain Winfield Scott, gave them a welcome tour of the area in his horse-drawn wagon. Scott later brought his mule, Old Maud, over to Marjorie's cottage and asked her to do a painting of the animal he brought home from service in the Army. She remembered decades later that Scott told her if she painted Old Maud, she would put Scottsdale on the map. Her oil painting of Old Maud also put Marjorie on the map as a talented artist and, decades later, became part of Scottsdale's fine art collection. In 1911, Marjorie and her brother decided to each homestead 160 adjoining acres a few miles north of the Scottsdale town site on what is now Cheney Road in Paradise Valley. Sheep drives from ranches north of Scottsdale often passed through the property, which provided subjects for her paintings. In a 1975 exhibit catalog, the artist described their homesteads: east slope of Mummy Mountain, the nearest house is mine, the farther one, my brother's. The horse corral between, on my brother's land. Our mother divided her time between us. The dog, of course, a loved member of the family, as was the pony Rags, seen in her corral. After her brother died in 1915, Thomas and her mother moved their rustic homes to the south side of Indian School Road, just east of what is now 75th Street. From her home studio, she produced fine art, initially without the benefit of electricity, and with a constant battle against dust from unpaved streets. Although Scottsdale had become her home and the people, animals, and desert landscape her inspiration, the area lacked galleries, museums, and art events. She became a frequent exhibitor at the Arizona State Fair's Fine Art Expo and had shows at the Arizona Biltmore and the Phoenix Women's Club during the 1920s and 1930s. Marjorie also showed her paintings at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts in the 1920s and began annual exhibits of her work at Boston's North Shore Arts Association. She created the artwork for the 1933 Chicago World's Fair Rodeo program and was commissioned by the New Deal's WPA to do a painting that hung in Senator Carl Hayden's office for many years. Embracing the rugged outdoor life in Arizona, Marjorie Thomas often ventured into the mountains or desert to make sketches for future paintings. She met Western writer Zane Grey through Scottsdale acquaintances, and in 1929, he invited her to join he and his wife on a pack trip to Rainbow Bridge in northern Arizona. Her work illustrates one of Gray's books, and the Scottsdale Fine Art Collection acquired one of her paintings from the Zane Grey trip, End of the Rainbow Trail. In addition to capturing the Sonoran Desert landscape in her work, Marjorie also sketched the places, faces, and everyday life that we now consider the historic record of early Scottsdale. Her paintings documented U.S. Army Field Artillery training near Scottsdale, the ruins of the Army post at Fort McDowell, Ritchie's Point, and Mummy Mountain in Paradise Valley, mules used in dredging the Arizona Canal, Yaqui ponies at the corner of Scottsdale and Indian Bend roads before the McCormicks established their ranch, sheep grazing at the corner of Scottsdale and Camelback roads, and the home of fellow Scottsdale artist Marguerite Wheeler on Indian School Road. Marjorie spent the 1950s and 1960s in Boston with relatives, then returned to Scottsdale in 1968. Her last major show was at the Scottsdale Civic Center Library in 1975. She died in 1978 at age 92. Miss Thomas, as nearly everyone in Scottsdale called her, was a gentle, soft-spoken woman who lived simply and with great humility. She was generous and often gave her art to Scottsdale friends, either on canvas or as paintings on household items like lampshades. Although gone from the Scottsdale art scene for nearly 40 years, her paintings and watercolors remain popular and highly collectible. During 2016, the Desert Caballeros Museum in Wickenburg exhibited a collection of her art, and Scottsdale's Museum of the West is exhibiting her work throughout 2017. Her legacy as Scottsdale's first artist lives on in the DNA of Scottsdale as a world-renowned art community. Scottsdale Active 2030 Club, 2017 Scottsdale History Hall of Fame honoree. For the members of the Scottsdale Active 2030 Club, it's all about the kids. Taking inspiration from the famous quote, "One never stands so tall as when kneeling to help a child." The club's mission is to improve the quality of life for children in our community. They've also mastered the art of having fun while serving others. The Scottsdale Active 2030 Club was initially formed in 1959 as the local chapter of a worldwide network of young men's groups. Within 4 years, the club was recognized as the top 2030 club in the U.S. Its early service and fundraising projects included sponsoring the local Miss Universe pageant, erecting 2 service club signs at Scottsdale entry points, building a fishing pier at the then-new Children's Zoo in Papago Park, and hosting the annual Boys Club Junior Olympics. Then, as now, the club members not only raised money for youth charities, but also set up and participated in events that involved area young people. Members also made lifelong friends and gained valuable leadership skills. After a period of inactivity, the Scottsdale Active 2030 Club was reborn in 1987 by young Scottsdale men who wanted to give back to their community. Although the members were of a new generation, the club's focus remained steadfast, benefiting the needs of children. The all-volunteer nonprofit club of 50 active members spends countless hours organizing fundraising events that have resulted in total gifts of over $7 million to youth charities over the past 30 years. Members balance new careers and new families with an unequal dedication to making each club event a success. While their purpose is to help children through their 3 signature events, they've also helped thousands of Scottsdale area adults have a good time. The club started Night Flight in 1990 as a novel nighttime golf tournament at Continental Golf Course, featuring glow-in-the-dark golf balls, illuminated tees, and a great after-party. After making a modest amount of money the first year, they gradually began to make more money, which they donated to Homeward Bound, Ronald McDonald House, and other charities. Now, Night Flight is the club's biggest event of the year. It runs over 2 days, including a golf tournament and an evening gala, and earns around $400,000 for local at-risk youths. As up-and-coming business professionals themselves, members of the Scottsdale Active 2030 Club created 2 events that provide competitive networking for other Scottsdale area businesses and raise money for children's charities. Brokers for Kids is a year-long contest in which commercial real estate teams raise funds, with the top-performing team capturing the Brokers' Cup. Broker teams also compete at the annual BFK Olympiad in games like Quarterback Challenge, volleyball, basketball, bago, and bocce. A parallel effort, named Agents Benefiting Children, is a year-long contest in which residential real estate brokers compete to raise the most money. This effort finishes with the ABC Olympiad, at which the Agents Cup is awarded to the top fundraising team. Teams also battle each other in sports and games. Both Olympiad events are held at Scottsdale Stadium and collectively raise over $400,000. Although members are proud of the funds they've raised for local children's charities, they're equally proud of their hands-on volunteer support of youth organizations. The club holds a fishing derby for children, helps kids at Camp Courage, takes members of the Boys and Girls Clubs to baseball games, donates gifts to Toys for Tots, and has helped refurbish homes for underprivileged families. Club members also take children in need shopping for back-to-school clothes through a program they call Kids Spree. The club is also serious about creating opportunities for personal growth, leadership development, camaraderie, and having fun. Younger members work hard to earn their stripes and learn the ways from the more experienced who came before them, becoming leaders themselves in a short amount of time. Club members also take care of each other and their families when in need through the member-funded Hourglass Fund that provides scholarships and meets other member-oriented needs. To many Scottsdale residents, the 2030 Club, Night Flight, and fun are synonymous terms. To the youth and youth charities the Scottsdale Active 2030 Club serves, with funds and friendship, club members are great role models and heroes. For nearly 5 decades, the club has served its community, groomed young adults for civic leadership, and raised the bar for what it means to be a successful, charitable organization. DMB, 2017 Scottsdale History Hall of Fame honoree. Scottsdale has benefited from many public-private partnerships throughout its history. DMB represents the best of the best in partnering with civic groups, local businesses, the city, the school district, and residents. Together, DMB and its community partners have created a model for the 21st century desert lifestyle and have preserved some of Scottsdale's most significant natural and historic treasures. Scottsdale area residents and businessmen Drew Brown, Mark Sklar, and Bennett Dorrance formed their own partnership in 1984, calling it DMB. Their first large project was development of Centerpoint on Mill in Tempe. From the very beginning, the trio had a goal of creating master plan communities to a new, higher standard and began assembling a design team that would help make that happen. With an eye to the future, they sent the first letter on DMB stationery to Kemper Marley, inquiring about undeveloped land he owned at the northwestern foothills of the McDowell Mountains. Since 1916, that large tract of land has been known as DC Ranch, part of the 44,000-acre cattle ranch established by E.O. Brown and partners. Much of Scottsdale's heritage as the West's most western town, complete with cowboys, cattle drives, and colorful characters, stemmed from DC Ranch legend and lore. Although no longer used for ranching, the property had as its backdrop Scottsdale's signature landmark, the McDowell Mountain Range. The city had attempted in 1977 to protect the mountainsides from development by enacting the Hillside Ordinances. However, the Arizona Supreme Court ruled these measures unconstitutional. Hence, the privately owned land, known as DC Ranch, and the surrounding area of the McDowells was zoned for development. In 1993, just as Scottsdale's Save Our McDowells movement was gaining traction, DMB partnered with the Marley Corrigan family to develop the 8,300 acres of the former DC Ranch. Then Scottsdale Mayor Herb Drinkwater approached the DMB partners with a bold proposition. If the city and its residents could find a way to buy a large chunk of the land so it could be included within the proposed boundary of the McDowell-Sonoran Preserve, would DMB hold off developing it? On a handshake, they agreed to consider it, even though selling some of the most desirable home sites would significantly alter their development plans. Meanwhile, Scottsdale voters approved a modest raise to the city sales tax to fund land purchases for the preserve. With funds now available to buy land from DMB, the city of Scottsdale announced the purchase of 2,675 acres of DC Ranch at a February 1998 celebration. DMB went a step further by donating over 1,900 acres to the McDowell-Sonoran Preserve and rezoned some of its community to create 672 additional acres as natural open space. Today, over half of DMB's DC Ranch community is permanently dedicated open space. The first residents moved into DMB's DC Ranch in 1997, the same year the country club at DC Ranch Golf Course and the Desert Camp Community Center opened. Throughout the development of DC Ranch, DMB has demonstrated great respect for the natural environment and has been extremely detail-oriented in preserving the desert landscape. Connectivity among residents and neighborhoods has also been a DC Ranch hallmark, using a variety of means from walking paths to a high-tech intranet system to involving residents in community service. DMB also made the rare decision to place a public school in the midst of a luxury community. In 2004, DMB unveiled Silverleaf, an exclusive golf club and neighborhood within DC Ranch. Scottsdale-based DMB has master plan communities throughout Metro Phoenix and in California, Utah, and Hawaii. In 2008, again in partnership with the Marley Corrigan family, DMB began developing One Scottsdale, a mixed-use development along Scottsdale Road and adjacent to the Loop 101 freeway. Its first tenant was Dial Henkel headquarters. Additional retail, residential, and office projects are in the works. DMB also operates 2 of its village health clubs in Scottsdale. The DMB partners and their corporate team have provided countless hours of volunteer leadership to the communities they serve. From the arts to education, to preservation, to economic development, to grooming future Scottsdale leaders, DMB has helped ensure that Scottsdale is a great place to live, work, and raise a family. DMB communities like DC Ranch have also encouraged residents to engage with their city. They have hosted events such as the annual Tour de Scottsdale, frequent theatrical productions at the Homestead, back-to-school donation drives, and the Run for Ryan House. Throughout its 34-year history, DMB has successfully lived by its core values of profit, partnership, legacy, and fun. As a Scottsdale-based business, DMB has successfully brought attention to the city and its livability through the company's stellar reputation for preservation, progressive development concepts, and community service. Without a doubt, DMB's success is proof of the power of partnerships.